This podcast is proud to be part of the Blueberry Network. That's blueberrywithnoease.com.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur on Fire, and you're listening to Transpersonal Radio with Angela Lynn Gibson. Remember, your thoughts upload your reality. Think wisely and always prepare to ignite.
Welcome to Transpersonal Radio.
TranspersonalRadio.com.
Real talk for real life.
Inspiring podcasts.
Exploring personal empowerment and
transformation
through parapsychology, spirituality, and how your thoughts upload your reality. And now your host, Angela L. Gibson.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/transpersonal radio. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. My guest today is Internet marketing coach and founder of Marketing Access Pass, Anthony Tran. Anthony is a successful entrepreneur and Air Force officer logistics veteran who has voluntarily jumped out of an airplane 9 times. He also happens to believe in psychics. Your first impression of Anthony would probably be similar to mine. A super intelligent, somewhat conservative, professional, yet friendly businessman who in no way seems to be someone who believes in anything supernatural or paranormal. And that's what caught my attention. A few weeks ago, Anthony sent me a note that said, "Hi Angela, I checked out your show. Cool stuff. My wife and I have always been fascinated with paranormal insights and spiritual health." As our conversation continued, Anthony said, "My wife and I have always gone to psychics and palm readers because we're so fascinated about the topic." Of course, I had to have Anthony as a guest on Transpersonal Radio. Anthony, thank you so much for chatting with me today and sharing some of your stories with our listeners.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the warm introduction.
You bet. Anthony, as we go through our conversation, you don't necessarily have to give any names of particular psychics or palm readers unless they were really fantastic and you want to share. Or conversely, you want to share a story with our listeners about where not to go. But mostly I just like to talk about your personal interests and experiences over the years with various readers.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm not sure if I believe or not believe. It's more of a curiosity thing. And, for me, I'm always been a spiritual person. I have religious beliefs, but I always feel like there's a higher being that's watching over us. And many people can believe whatever they want as far as different religions, whether they believe in spiritual spirits that are watching over us. But for me, I always feel like there is someone that's watching over me and my family and whatever beliefs that you may have. I just feel like they're like guardian angels. So yeah, I've definitely had some things that have really increased my belief in that nature.
Very well said, Anthony. I really, really appreciate your insight there because you shared pretty much the paradigm of transpersonal radio. I like to get all sides of people's belief systems and, whether they're atheists or whether they're Catholic or whether it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what your belief paradigm is or where you're coming from. I love talking to skeptics. I love talking to believers. I love talking to everyone in between. And the point is being able to appreciate where everybody's coming from.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Anthony, before we get into all the fun psychic stuff, let's talk about you jumping out of a plane 9 times, not just once or twice, 9. Now, I know a lot of us wouldn't willingly do that once. So talk us through that experience. What was it like for you? Why did you do it?
Okay, so let me bring it back to my military days. I was selected to go to Army Airborne School, and this was a special assignment for Air Force ROTC cadets. And I was selected, the only one from my detachment. I think there was like 150 cadets, and I was the only one that got selected. Maybe it's because I was the only one that was crazy enough to volunteer, right? But so I got selected to go to airborne school, and it was about a month training at Fort Benning in Georgia. And I trained with the Army, and they taught us how to jump out of an airplane willingly. And so that part of the process of doing that, I had to do 5 jumps out of an airplane. And these were considered low level jumps. I'm not going to get into the technical stuff, but then the other 4 jumps that I did was actually when I was a civilian. And I think this was just me just being adventurous. Like I wanted to go skydiving, and I did. I went a couple places around the country, and it was just a lot of fun. I did a lot. I did it. I've been still trying to convince my wife that she should go do the same, but I don't think she's going to do that.
Yeah, I can't say I blame her there, Anthony. And I would guess, like, with your previous military background and certainly being a risk taker to jump out of a plane, that's probably helped you today, even with your entrepreneurial spirit, because being an entrepreneur, being self-employed or running your own business, that's not for the faint-hearted. Yeah,
it's funny. I was watching this video on Facebook, and I think it was like Steve Harvey had put on this post, and someone asked him, like, what does it take to be successful? And he basically applied it to saying that, you have to be able to willing to jump off a cliff. And there's a lot of people that, just take that leap of faith, so to speak, the entrepreneurial leap. And if you're not willing to take that leap, you'll always be on the cliff, just watching everybody else flying below you. You'll be safe, but you'll never be able to soar. That was his analogy. And I guess for me, it's like, I'm not like a daredevil, so to speak. I mean, I do have calculated risk. I do take a lot of things into consideration when I do stuff. It's not like I just kind of jump freely and not think of any, repercussions. This was a big decision that was in the making for my family and I. It was many years before I had the courage and the faith and belief in myself that I could do it before I finally did take the leap.
Well, we're glad you did. So you've said that you and your wife are fascinated with paranormal insights, with psychics, with palm readers. Tell us more about that, Anthony. What fascinates you most? What would you like to learn more about?
Well, I think for us, we definitely have a deep faith, and we know that there's something else that happens when you pass away, and we don't know exactly what it is, and we know that our faith tells us there's certain things, and I think we just always had this curiosity, like, what happens when you pass away? What is the higher calling, right? And I think for us, we just wanted to kind of explore that and see if there's anyone that could give us the answers. And that's kind of like how it happened. And, we visited a psychic a couple years ago, and it was like I said, it was for fun. We just were curious. And most times we've been to places where, they're hit or miss. Like some of them are okay, and others but this particular lady, her name was Mrs. Lee, and she was a local lady in the town, and we just went to visit her. And basically all she did was we came in and she just asked to have a metal object of some sort for us to give to her. And she basically held it in her hand, and she was just, I guess, I don't know if she was channeling or something like that, and I didn't say anything to her. I never met her in my life. And there was just a couple of things that she said that just I was thinking, there's no way she would have known that. Most people think okay, readers, they try to ask you questions, and then maybe they think they're trying to just fish for you to answer. But I literally sat for 30 minutes and I didn't say a word. I never met her in my life. And she was telling me stuff that I, at the time I was just like, wow, how did she know that? I'll give you some specific examples, because I'm sure people are like, well, what did she say?
Absolutely.
So, for example, she said, one thing that I remember she said was, you're going to have an opportunity to go to Arizona. And I actually live in California. She's like, you're going to have an opportunity to go to Arizona pretty soon. I don't recommend you go. It's better that you stay here. It's safer. But you will have an opportunity. It's best that you stay here. And I was like, okay, that's one thing I just kind of kept in my mind. And the other thing she was saying is, I see you're trying to start your own business. And this is, like I said, this is when I was working my corporate job, and I was working, and she's like, I see it. And, of course you're like, okay, well, yeah, you could have figured that out. But she's like, I see you doing something in the fitness industry. And it was true. I was creating a blog on the side, and it was a fitness blog. And I was like, okay, wow, this is pretty crazy. She was able to nail, out of all the different, I guess, industries out there, right? How did she pick that particular one? It was pretty point blank. And then there was a couple other things. She said that, I see you, I see you working really hard and you're really overwhelmed and you're stressed out. And I see that, you love your wife and your family and you're willing to do anything it takes. And she says, I see you doing well in this business, but it's going to take some time and there's a few more things you need to learn. And so I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. And yes, all those things are true. I love my family very much. And then at the time I was just very stressed out at work. I was working 60 hours a week, nights, weekends, on holidays. And I was trying to figure out a way to essentially escape that situation. So I was trying to figure out a way to start my own business so I could do so. And my own particularly online business where I can work from home. And that was the whole idea. So I was like, wow, okay, that's pretty fascinating. So let's go back real quick to the Arizona thing. And then, and there was a couple other things and I can't quite remember all the details, but this one thing did stand out. Like literally a week later, my boss comes in to ask me to come to his office and he's like, hey, Anthony, I have 2 free tickets to go to Arizona to, I think it was a baseball team. I think it was like, I'm not a baseball fan. So whatever the Major League Baseball team, right? He's like, I have 2 free tickets to go. Would you like to come with me?
Wow.
And go? And I'm just like, holy cow, like that's crazy. Out of all 50 states out there, what were the odds of her saying that I was going to have this opportunity to go to Arizona? And so of course I kind of, took her warning because I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a reason why she said that. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to be busy that week. I'm not going to be able to make it. So, but most people be like, hey, that's a cool opportunity to go.
Sure.
But who knows? Maybe something bad would have happened. I don't know. And then she also said something that kind of stuck in my mind. She's like, this business that you're going into, it's going to change and you're going to do well. And your service side of the business is going to do well. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know what she's talking about. Cause I was making this fitness blog at the time. Sure. And, fast forward a couple of years, here I am today, I'm doing my business and, I was struggling for many months, trying to make any money out of this business and trying to make anything work. But finally like a light bulb hit me and I said, you know what? There's a lot of people that are asking me for help, for do for you type of services like web design, social media, SEO, that kind of stuff. And at first I was like, I don't, that's not originally what my business is about. I was originally trying to create like video tutorials and membership sites and all that good stuff. But, after a while, I was like, I'm going to give this a shot and see what happens. Maybe there's a reason why people there was multiple people that continue to reach out to me for this type of assistance. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take on a few clients. And oh my goodness, when I opened that door for taking on service clients, it's like the floodgates just opened up. And now I'm like, I've been so blessed to be able to have people that trust me to help them with their business. And it's gotten so busy to the point where now my wife is also leaving her full-time job and we're both doing this together. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's hard because like here I am, I have certain religious beliefs that tell me like, okay, I'm not supposed to believe these things. But then yet, I went to this person and the things she told me was just so powerful. And I was like, yeah, so I don't know. Like all I know is there are maybe spirits or spirit guys that are watching over us. Cause I feel like every time I'm in a point where like I'm in like severe stress, severe desperation, like maybe like money is a really big problem and I'm like stressing out about it. All of a sudden somehow like, money comes or like a situation comes and it saves us. And I don't know how to explain it.
Sure. I absolutely understand those kinds of what I call divine synchronicity or divine intervention. I have a lot of friends from many different cultures and different countries, and it's interesting to me how various cultural influences can shape how we perceive paranormal phenomena. For example, many Latinos practice curanderismo, which is a folk healing with a shaman. The shaman's powers are considered supernatural, And shamans are called upon because of the belief that many illnesses are caused by malevolent spirits, or it's a curse, or it's a lesson from God. And another example would be Santeria, which is a pantheistic religion that includes a trance and divination system for communicating with their deceased ancestors or other deities. How has your culture affected your belief system, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, my culture, I come from Asian descent, so my family's heavily Catholic, and so, you know, of course, we're raised and we believe in God and Jesus Christ, and just being good people, and the fact that we'll, you know, all go to heaven, and as long as we, you know, don't sin and do any of the, you know, as long as we don't do anything that's against the 10 Commandments. So those are all things that's really like shaped me growing up, having a belief that is heavily tied to you know, my family and my upbringing. So, and I think that's really helped me too when I do stuff that is considered adventurous or risky. When I'm in a situation where it's really tough, I just pray and I just have faith that everything's going to work out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I can understand that. And I think it's really helpful for people who have a belief paradigm to have that sense of peace or that sense of belonging. I think it's very helpful oftentimes, especially in times of vulnerability or, like you said, when you're taking risks or taking chances, for sure. It's interesting because in my early years, I was raised agnostic, so there was no discussion of God or higher power or anything of that sort in my household. Yet there were paranormal events happening to me very early in childhood. And in my case, most everything was approached from a scientific or logical paradigm, you know, even though the paranormal was accepted as a possibility. So it's interesting when I get to speak to other people who from very early on were raised up with a particular belief system or their family structure, and how that would shape an individual's belief system. One of the questions that I find interesting for you would be, especially with a Catholic background, I know for many people who have a religious background, the very idea of seeing a psychic or a palm reader would be blasphemous and not accepted in their religion. So how has that shaped your belief in the paranormal? Have you had a conflict there, or is it okay?
Like I said, for me, it was, it is considered like blasphemous and you're not supposed to do those things. But I don't know. I feel like, and this is just me speaking, I just feel like, to me, religion, spirits, the higher power, it's all, could all essentially be the same. Like I feel like because I have faith in my Catholic religion, that there are spirit guides that are watching over me, whether my ancestors that are angels that are watching over me from the other side, or even God himself. So, I mean, for me, it's just, I feel very blessed that someone out there is watching over me. And I think it's, you know, some people feel like they have to label it. And for me, it's just like, I know that there's something out there that's special, and that I have faith that I'm being watched over. And whether you call it paranormal activity, whether you call it a Catholic, you know, religious beliefs, whether you call it Christianity, I mean, I feel everybody has a right to believe in whatever they believe. And essentially, I feel like it's, in a way, everybody's right in their own manner, because, you know, everyone's faith is to their own. And at the end of the day, I feel like religion, spirituality, beliefs, it all helps us do one thing, and that is for comfort, for us to feel grounded, that we're safe, that we're always being watched over, and that we're blessed, and that we feel blessed for everything that we do. And to me, it's like every religion preaches something. They always say, "Be good to man and mankind. Be good to one another. You know, don't kill."
Right.
you know, don't. You know, yes. they all tell you to be good people. You
yes.
know? And so essentially, it's like I don't. To me, I don't feel like anyone has to judge each other based off of what they believe.
Very well said. Very, very well said. And I agree. I think no matter what we label it, and as humans, we try to break down our complex reality into small labels or boxes that we can begin to understand the complexity of what we are experiencing. But I agree with you in that I think regardless of what you label your belief system, it does all go back to the same source. Now, when you visited your first psychic, or the first time you decided to visit a psychic, that was the time you were telling me, I think, where it was just kind of a whim. You're just curious. You don't want to see what it's all about. So going forward, now you said you've been to psychics and palm readers. So have there ever been instances in your life where you've gone into someone in particular for some kind of insight on an issue, or has this always just been sort of a whim?
Yeah, it's always been a whim. Whenever we travel, we just happen to see one, we're like, hey, let's go check it out. It's just like for fun. Let's see what this person will tell me.
Excellent.
And I've had other people, like I said, I don't know, I've had other times where I went and I just didn't feel like what they're reading was accurate, or I maybe felt like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like the connection there. Yeah. So not saying that they're not real or not. I just didn't feel the connection as the one that I went to originally, that like I said, that she didn't ask me anything. She just started reading and just started sharing information. And it was just, and the interesting thing is, I have gone back to her. It's been a while since I've gone back to her, but I did go back to her, I think like a year and a half ago or something. And I think it was just because I was in a time where I was stressed out. I was debating if I should leave a job because I was been with this company for like, I think over 6 years, and it was a good company. It was paying me well, but I was, looking for new opportunities, somewhere else. So, I went to her and just said, hey, am I ever going to leave this job? Like, kind of thing. And she was like, I see that there's a man that's going to help you, get into this new company that's going to be more technologically advanced. It's going to be a better job. It's going to be better for your family, as far as like lifestyle. And you can, if you stay at your old job, you'll still do fine. If you leave it, you go with your new one, it'll be good. So both opportunities are great, but there's going to be someone that's going to help you. So I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So I just left it at that, and a couple of weeks passed, and I went to go eat at a restaurant, and I met this gentleman, and I just had finished my degree in aerospace. So I was actively looking for a job in aerospace. Before I was working in the automotive industry. And I was actively looking for a job in the aerospace industry. And me and my wife had dinner, and then we just met this gentleman, and he was sitting right next to us. And who would have thought, but he worked for the company that I was trying to apply for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was a manager of, great authority. And he's, long story short, we traded information, and a couple months later, he helped me get a job at that company.
Fantastic.
And I was just like, wow. And it was a better as far as lifestyle, because my old job, I was working like 60 hours weeks. Like I've said, this new job was more like 40 hours a week, and I had like every other Friday off. So it was like, as far as work-life balance, it was a lot better. So, it's just, I don't know. Like, I can't really explain it. Most people would say, like, well, maybe you're looking into it, maybe you're reading it, maybe you're trying to find the connection, but I don't know. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say, but I was just thinking to me, it's like a miracle. It's a blessing. So. Right.
Absolutely. And there are certain things that happen within a particular time frame where you say that's a little bit further outside the possibility of chance. That's beyond coincidence that particular event occurred exactly as described. So that's one of the things that fascinates me about this whole thing as well. Now, when you were talking about Miss Lee, she was practicing what's called psychometry, where she would take an object from you and be able to tap into your energy field and your information that way. Have you ever been to any psychic readers who use tarot cards or any other means, or what kinds of other readings have you experienced?
Yeah, I went to a tarot card reader, and I don't know. I didn't feel like as much of a connection in that for that particular reading. The stuff that she said was a little more general. And I think that's why, not saying that it's not true, but it wasn't like the way the other lady said it, where it was like pinpoint, like
right.
you are trying to start a business in the fitness industry and you're going to go to Arizona. I mean, it's like,
right.
that was like, this one was more like, you are a good person. This year is going to be, financially tough, or, this year you're going to be very blessed. I mean, it was just very like
vague.
more general, more vague. And it was just, so it didn't strike a chord with me as much as the other lady.
Tell me a little bit about a visit to a palm reader, because that's of particular curiosity to me. I've never actually done that. And what was that like?
The only palm reader I've been to was my father actually took me when I was younger. I think it was like 7 or 8. And he said he knew a man that was like really like famous, like world renowned, I guess. Old Asian man, very wise looking. And I was like 7 or 8 years old. I didn't know anything, but I guess this man, is like is famous. He's apparently just, read some really, famous people, I guess. I don't know the full story, but basically I do remember going to this man. I do remember him looking at my hand, and I remember him sharing some stuff, and it was like in a foreign language. And, my dad, he understood it, so he had to translate to me. But basically my dad said that the man said that I was going to be doing a career or job that was different from what most people consider like the ordinary. So I'm not going to be like your standard doctor, lawyer,
Yep, accountant, all the
mainstays. He just said I was going to be doing something different, that I was going to be something like a leadership type position where I be able to influence a lot of people. But it's something different, something that's not your normal everyday type of thing. He also said, like, when you're between the age of 16 and 18, be very careful who you hang out with, because you have, the people that you hang out with, you could either hang out with really good people that can, help you do well. And there's going to be people that could really get you in trouble. And,
yeah, absolutely.
So, and yeah, of course, most people are like, well, of course, teenagers, you can get yourself into trouble, blah, 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 blah. Like that's typical advice, right?
Sure.
But here's the caveat. So there were some people that I was hanging around in high school that necessarily wasn't the right crowd. There was some situations where I was in that, man, I could have been in a world of hurt. So I had made a conscious decision to, leave all of those friends behind when I went to college. I wanted to start fresh, make new friends. I think that's made the world of difference as far as, things that I've been able to do since then.
One of the questions I was going to ask you is, what is some of the most profound advice, guidance, or information you've ever received from a psychic, and how did it change your life? And I think that was probably one of the key turning points for you in your life.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I always remember growing up and going, what does he mean? Like, who are these people that he's talking about?
And it's possible, had you not heard that from him, you may have never even questioned it and kept going down this path that could have been detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually, I don't know. I'm like debating if I should share this because it's just really personal.
You only share what you're comfortable with.
But it's just so profound. I'll go ahead and share it because I feel like people can learn from it. So I was like, I think that was like 18 years old. And I was hanging out with some friends. And we were at a New Year's party. And we were just hanging out. I think it was like a hotel. And people, I was just sitting there hanging out with some friends. And all of a sudden I hear this, like, it was like, it was a gun cock behind my head. And I at that moment, I knew exactly the sound. There's like a profound sound. You know that sound, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. But for some reason, I didn't freak out. I just turned around very calmly, and there was a gun pointing at my head. And there's this guy, he was like some gang member, and he was like, he was just saying all this stuff like, you know who I am, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, and all my friends were like, whoa, relax. He's not who you think he is. You're mistaking him for somebody else.
Wow. Relax.
He's cool. He's with us, kind of deal. And it was just like this crazy fiasco, right? And the guy calmly puts his gun down, and I walk out of the hotel room, and I left, of course, right? So I was I wasn't upset. I was just more of like in this state of shock. It was weird.
Surreal.
I was in a state of shock, like, oh my goodness, did that just really happen? So, of course I leave, and then my friend's like, dude, I'm so sorry. Are you okay, dude? Are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I think I'm all right. And so I go, I don't know why, but I did go back to the party. I just like, and the guy, of course, comes back to me like, hey, man, I'm so sorry. I thought you were somebody else, blah, blah. And I was just thinking like, holy cow, you almost killed me.
Right.
For a mistaken identity.
Wow.
But, that really struck a chord with me. Because it's always changed everything that I've done since then. It totally, because I had a decision like whether I was going to stay in the same neighborhood and go to school in the local area or go away. And I was like, I'm leaving. Right. I'm leaving all those friends behind that, and not saying that my friends were bad, but we were in just bad situations.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I got to get out of here. So of course I left. And, it's like I said, it's shaped the way my life has changed, because if I didn't make that decision to leave, I wouldn't have gone to the Air Force. I wouldn't have, went to the military, and without even going to the military, I wouldn't have gotten the job that I did after I got out of the military. And I wouldn't be here where I am today if throughout all these chain of events, right? If I had stayed in the local area. And the crazy thing is that year, my freshman year of college, I think 2 people that I knew that we were hanging around the same crowd, I found out 2 of them died.
Wow.
One died in a drive-by, one died in a stabbing.
My goodness.
So yeah, I could have been in one of those situations, and that could have been me. So yeah, so I don't know. Like, I guess maybe that's why I'm not afraid to explore, that, because of that childhood situation where I went to the palm reader at the age of 7, and he said something that forever shaped my life in a positive way, that warned me of something that could have bad happened. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why I'm just like, you know what? It's okay.
Right.
It's okay. Like, mm-hmm. I know I have these religious beliefs, and absolutely I do believe in those things. But at the same time, I feel like there's spirit guys that are watching over me.
Without question.
I've never actually told anyone that story.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because that is profound, and those are the kinds of real raw stories that I love to share with our listeners, because somewhere out there is someone who's going to relate to that, and it could change their life for the better.
Yeah. So I guess that's maybe why I shared it. Was, maybe it will touch somebody out there, and it will help them in their life in some way.
Thank you so much. So share with us, Anthony, one of the worst readings you've ever had, and why was it terrible?
Well, I think I don't know if it was the worst, but like I said, the one I went to was a tarot card reader, and I don't say it was just bad. I just said I was just used to people telling me more stuff that was a little more pinpointed, mm-hmm. Versus very general.
Right.
And she was more of like asking for questions, and she's just reaffirming, and and there's nothing wrong with that in a way, because I feel like sometimes you just need, whether it's you go see advice from a friend, or you go talk to a priest, or you go talk to your parents, or whoever you feel safe seeking counsel from. Sometimes you already know the answers. You just need to hear from somebody else. Some kind of
validation.
Yeah, some kind of validation, right? Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes I think sometimes that's the case where I want to hear it from somebody else.
That's right.
And even though I know the answer, I just want validation.
Yes. And I think that's a fair desire, and it helps us sort of mirror and make sure that we're thinking on the right path, or do we need to change our thought processes, or do we need to get second opinions. I think that's absolutely a valid thing to do. Now, most people, they seek out a psychic or a palm reader for what I call the top three or the trifecta. So, love or relationships, money or career, and health. Those are the big ones. Did a psychic predict you meeting your wife?
No.
Nope.
No.
Did you actually ever even ask that question? That's a big one that people ask.
No, I don't think so.
Yours was more around money and career and...
Yeah, it was more around money, career.
Life path as well, actually.
Right, life path, yeah.
That's fantastic. So one of the things that I would find interesting is your opinion on what you would say to those skeptics or debunkers who say all this psychic stuff is just pure nonsense and it's impossible.
I don't know. I mean, that's their right to their opinion, and I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. It's just, like I said, I think if you can believe whatever you believe in, whatever guides you, and like I said before, it's like, if you don't believe in psychics, but you believe in your own religion or your own just personal moral beliefs, whatever those beliefs are, you're probably right.
Right. That's right.
And like I said, when I started this whole thing, and I said, it's like, I don't know, to tell you the truth, what I believe, in a sense with this paranormal. Like, I don't know if I believe in it or I don't believe in it, because there's like this, I guess, this conflict of interest, because in one side I'm not supposed to believe in it because it's my religion. But the other side, there's things that have happened to me that says that, hey, I should open up to the possibility. So what I've concluded for my own self, to how I can wrap my brain around it, is I don't know what it is. I just know that there's a higher spiritual guide that's watching over me. Whether it's an angel, whether it's a spirit guide, whether it's part of my religion, whether it's my ancestors, I don't know. But all I know is I've been very blessed, because I've been in situations where it could have been life threatening, right?
Yes.
But I've, like, those kind of situations that there's someone watching over me that kept me away from trouble. So that's kind of how I see it. And, for everyone else who's listening, if, I'm not trying to debunk, I'm not trying to believe one way or another. I'm just sharing with you my personal experience. And this is the reason why I've kind of feel this way.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, we're pretty much on the same page there. I have the same structure that I've been able to sort of put together over the years from many different belief systems and my own experiences. And, as far as one of the things that I talk about with my clients and my students, oftentimes when they come to me with the conflict of, well, my religion says I'm not supposed to believe this or fool around with that. I always like to remind them of the teachings of Jesus. And Jesus was one of those who practiced this type of, prophetic ability to be able to tell people, this is what's happening, this is what you need to do. He practiced mediumship. He practiced raising Lazarus from the dead. And it says in the New Testament, we should covet prophecy. And so I like to remind people of that. And beyond that, he said that we would go forth and do greater works than these. So that's one of the ways that we can reconcile. And again, ultimately, it all comes back to the same source, whatever you label it. I want to revisit what you were talking about earlier. A lot of non-believers say that psychics are doing nothing more than cold reading, meaning they throw generic keywords or vague bits of information out to gauge your reaction and read your body language. They're not really doing anything beyond what any one of us could do, right? Now, you've said you'd had that experience with the tarot reader. It was sort of vague, more like a cold reading. And yet, when we go back to Miss Lee, that was a completely different experience. So, talk to me a little bit about how your feelings are between those two different experiences.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the cold reading, it wasn't as profound, right? Because she was asking me questions, and I could give her leading questions that can help her, decipher or discover more information or reveal different information that may be something I want to hear, maybe something that what she thinks I want to hear, that kind of thing. Whereas with Mrs. Lee, she just read me. like I never met her before. I never talked to her before. She just started talking. So to me, that was like more impactful. Like, wow, like how did she read me like that? It was like, some people would be like, well, she could have just guessed, but
right.
I don't know.
That was some pretty specific guessing.
Like, I don't know. Like, it was just crazy. Like, how would she know that? But I don't know. I mean,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I feel about that. It's just, I'm not saying that one was or the other, but the fact that I had a reading that was not cold reading, it was just like everything that I've been experienced afterwards that has kind of been like a cold reading. I kind of like, it doesn't feel the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't have the same impact.
That's right. Some people are embarrassed to say they believe in psychics, and I'm really excited that you are sharing your experiences on the air with our listeners, Anthony. Have you always been that forthcoming with your belief system or your belief paradigm, or have you kept that to yourself for fear of ridicule or maybe even issues with your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's always like taboo, right? You're not supposed to talk about your religious beliefs.
Sure.
You're not talk about those kind of things. So yeah, I guess in a way I am careful. But at the same time, I guess after speaking to you, I just kind of feel like maybe there's some people out there that are going to need to hear this.
Absolutely.
And, I hope that whoever is listening doesn't judge me. I'm not, like I said, I don't feel like in one way or another that I would judge you and whatever you believe. I just sharing with you my experience, and, you can kind of take what you want from it.
Absolutely. I love it.
And that's just the kind of person I am. I don't judge anyone. They can have any religious belief, or even if they're agnostic or atheist or whatever, I don't judge. I mean, that's to their own liking. To me, I can only focus on myself and what I do for my family and what I believe. And all I know, like I said, all I know is I don't know. I can't explain it all. All I can say is I've been very blessed. And I'm thankful every day for all the blessings, and that all the things that have happened around me, for my family, I feel like we're always being watched over, and they're always being safeguarded against, bad things. So that's right. That's just kind of how I feel about that.
I love it. Unfortunately, there are some charlatans out there who are in the business of doing nothing more than separating vulnerable people from their hard-earned money. And I try to be very diligent about sharing the warning signs of such charlatans and making sure people go to genuine readers who are there to actually provide a valuable service. What are some of the warning signs you would share with our listeners, Anthony? How can people find a genuine psychic?
Oh, I have no idea.
So do you get a feeling when you sit down with someone, or let me put it this way, do you feel that so maybe this is where your spirit guides come in. Maybe you were divinely drawn to Ms. Lee. Maybe your father knew that you should see the palm reader when you were 7. Maybe they were looking out for you. Do you have any feeling of connection when you first sit down, or sort of like, I don't really want to be here. This isn't the right person for me. What's kind of been your experience?
No, I don't really necessarily have any feeling one way or another of like, I guess the only thing is, I guess you have this kind of intuition where, if you meet people, some people, you just have this intuition like, they're not necessarily good people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just you being paranoid or what, but there's just some people that you get good vibes from, and there's some people you don't get good vibes from.
That's for sure.
I've been fortunate. I haven't had that feeling against anyone that I've come to talk to.
Excellent.
It's just, and maybe it's just the fact that I don't know. I feel like I'm just a nice guy. I don't judge people.
There you go. You are a nice guy. And I think that has a lot to do with it because, again, you're able to discern. And going back to the very personal story that you shared earlier about being in that life-threatening situation, you were able to discern immediately, I need to make some changes in the types of people that I'm allowing into my inner circle.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing when you're looking at readers. You have to be very discerning, just like you would if you were choosing a physician or an attorney or an accountant, like we were talking about earlier. any type of therapist or counselor or psychotherapist, be very discerning about the person you're choosing to go to for counsel. One of the other things that I'm really adamant about is deconstructing the myth that psychic abilities are gifts. Everyone is psychic to some degree and can hone that skill. Now, you've shared with us a few moments of your own psychic awareness or intuition that you've noticed in your life as far as, again, discerning different paths that you should take, whether you should stay in your neighborhood or move away to go to school. Talk to us a little bit about how that feels for you when you know you're getting an intuitive hit and you should listen, or if you've ever ignored an intuitive hit and what those consequences were.
I don't know if it's intuitive or it's just my brain talking to me.
So again, with the labels, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's my brain talking to me or if it's intuitive or someone's guiding me. I don't know. But, you know, I guess in a way, has there been advice that I've ignored or there's signs and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. You know, who doesn't, right? You know, sometimes, you know, for example, when I was working with my marketing coach, John Lee Dumas, you know, he was telling me, and this is not a sign, but she just said like, hey, you need to focus on, you know, building your audience. Don't worry about your membership site right now. And I was like, okay, but I was focused on building my membership site. That's what I wanted to do. And he told me like, don't do that. You should go down this path. And that was through his personal experience. Right. So I was like, so I didn't listen to him. And I just went down this because I was maybe stubborn or something. And, you know, of course he was right. He was right in the fact that I should have, you know, not worry about my membership site. And then, you know, the weird thing was when I did let go of that membership site, when I just started focusing on helping people, building an audience, and just giving things for free and just helping people and not asking for anything in return, that's when everything started to turn around for me.
Excellent.
When I wasn't focused on the money, when I wasn't focused on my own personal, you know, benefits, I just focused on the other person, helping other people, and things just kind of naturally, you know, progress from there. So I don't know, like, you know, you mentioned it was a sign. Was it a feeling? I don't know, like, maybe it was a sign. Maybe it was some feelings that were telling me that I should do this other thing. But I think anything like human nature, you're always having this, inner struggle, right? You have maybe your heart's telling you something, but your head's telling you another thing.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that was another big thing that happened to me was I had this inner struggle because, you know, when I started this business, I didn't have a lifeline. I was borrowing money. I didn't have savings to go off of. And the money that I was borrowing was running out very, very quickly. And I was in a very tough situation where I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I just left my job. No money's coming in. Do I have to go back to work? Do we have to sell our house? Like I was really stressed out about it. And a part of me was like, well, I just need to find a way to make money. You know, like that was the bottom line. Like I just need to make money.
Yes.
But there was this inner struggle because I was like, well, I want to give this membership site away for free. But my brain was telling me, no, you need to make money. Don't be stupid. You need to charge for this. And so it was this constant inner struggle. Like, well, I want to give it away for free. I know that's everybody else around me was telling me, you know, you need to pay for it. That's stupid. But it was this inner conflict that kept telling me, no, give it away, give it away. Just, you know, just help people, give it away for free. Don't worry. And despite my situation when, like I said, I was really in trouble. I was like financially in trouble. I just took a leap of faith and I just said, you know what? I'm going to give it away for free. I refunded all of the people that were in my membership site. I gave them all the money. I opened up the whole thing for free for anyone who wants to join. And I kid you not, like a couple weeks later, things just started turning around. Like it was, people were starting to approach me. I was starting to get recognized. People were inviting me to be on people's shows. I was like invited to, you know, help speak at a conference. I was, you know, it was just weird. I was just like, I didn't ask for these things. I just started, I guess, letting go of the whole worry about money. And I just said, I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. And, you know, it did.
Wow.
And like I said, that's one of those things where I can't, logically in my head, I can't put a finger on it. Right. Mm-hmm. So the only thing I can say is I just always feel that there's someone watching over me. Spirit guide, religious, like we talked about, like
Yep.
you can label it whatever you want to call it. But I don't think this would have happened naturally. I don't know. Like, how does that happen? Like I said, I was like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt, no money coming in, nothing, right? Nothing was happening, going good. And then I just let go, right? I just took a leap of faith. Just said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to follow my heart. I'm just going to let this go. And I'm just going to keep helping people and just providing value. And all of a sudden, things turn around. And everything, and I always remember that because I always feel blessed. And everything that has come to me so far, I always very humbled the fact that I know what it was like to be in that situation. That everything that is given to me at this point, I'm always just so thankful. And I know that, at any given moment, it can be taken away. And so I'm just always thankful, always, trying to help people because, without me doing that, I wouldn't be in the situation I am today.
What a fantastic story, and what a wonderful learning example for people who are in that situation right now, where they are having the struggle between head and heart, or left hemisphere of the brain and right hemisphere of the brain, and oh my gosh, what should I do? I just need to make money, and being in that fear cycle that seems like there's no way out. Being able to finally get to the place where you just let go. You followed your intuition by saying, I'm going to refund people's money. I'm going to just start doing what I feel is right. I'm going to offer value to people. I'm going to stop focusing on me and my fears. I'm going to start focusing on what I can do to bring value to others. And everything turned around. What a fantastic story. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you want to share with our listeners, or anything you want to expand on?
Yeah, I guess the only last thing I want to say is, I know, just like I shared before, hopefully you don't judge me in one way or another. I'm just sharing with you my personal experiences. I can't explain it. There's no way I can explain it. There's no way I can label it. I have no idea what to call it. All I can say is I'm just very thankful and very blessed. And hopefully if you're in a situation where you're needing some guidance, that you're just willing to accept the gifts around you and willing to take the blessings and just, and be open-minded.
Exactly. Stay open-minded and be open to all the possibilities, because there are things that are happening or that can happen greater than we could ever imagine. That's the fun of it. How can our listeners easily find you if they want to learn more about how to get a website built, or how to get help with growing their online presence, or even ask you something about the information you shared today?
Yeah, so they can visit me at marketingaccesspass.com. I just have a website where I do offer services and just free information. As I talked about, I have free information, video tutorials, anything that they could help them build an online business. So
fantastic. And I'll make sure to put that website in my show notes on my site and link to that so people can find you in case they're driving and can't write down or memorize the website. And Anthony, I just want to thank you so much for just being open and sharing and really providing some value to our listeners today. I really appreciated it. It was fun for me. I learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed yourself as well.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Transpersonal Radio.
If you'd like to suggest a future
topic
or be a guest, visit transpersonalradio.com. Call the hotline at 619-800-6057 or like our page, facebook.com/
Transpersonal Radio.